Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben. We don't have Hector today because there was a whole thing that happened with, we were meant to have a guest on, and he just bailed like an hour before we were going to record it. So we didn't do a normal episode. And then it occurred to me that for a long time I've been meaning to interview my very good friend and former and kind of semi-current bandmate, Mr. Barney Boomm. How's it going, Barney?
Very good. How are you? I feel like I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking I'm looking quite pink because I've just had a shower. I've been to the gym and I had a shower and I'm just looking at myself and I'm thinking I look kind of like somewhere between a prawn and a newborn Russian. But I think that
so
if people can look past the pinkness, I'm good.
Well, I just have my brother here, so we've been doing like Florida things, so I got a bit of a tan. I don't usually have a tan. I'm usually hiding away in my studio, but recently the last week or so we've been doing outdoorsy things. So
nice. And is it hot there? Because it's not hot here.
Yeah, it's always hot here. I have a t-shirt, a Game of Thrones t-shirt that says winter is not coming. All the time.
Wow. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. So does that help?
Yeah. It's in the summer it's really hot. And in the winter, occasionally there's like a day when you can wear more than a t-shirt. That's basically where we're at.
Yeah. The Everglades. I know about the Everglades. Very humid, isn't it, in Florida?
Yeah. You came not that long ago. You did the Warped Tour about 4 or 5 years ago, didn't you? You were like right.
Yeah, but I didn't come.
Oh,
I went on it. That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
Oh, right. I didn't know
I didn't do it. Jumping in at the deep end here with these.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
well, let's start at the beginning then. So how did we meet? Can you remember how we met?
Yeah, through Justin. I met Justin at uni, who knew you from home and the musical circles when you were a kid in probably school and college, or college, I guess. And then we were all like, you were in the first year at uni. I think I was maybe I was probably in the first year of my uni, but I had 2 years out, so I was a little bit older. When you're 18 and one's 20, or 17, you one's 19, that seems like a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
It was through Justin, and the first time I met you, he brought you to a saxophone with the old band that you weren't part of. But then obviously Sonic Boom 6 came along later, and that you were very much intrinsic in that, and part of it, and part of the whole concept of it, and part of the genesis of it. It was like, this is a band with Ben in, with Ben's co-songwriting and all that. But the first time we met, you sax player and we were just us. But then very quickly we got talking and realized that we were both interested in free parties and raves and drum and bass nights and the club culture in the way me and you were particularly into. And Layla and Neil and Dave weren't quite as knee deep in that. And we then started going parties together, didn't we? And started hanging out beyond the band, beyond punk even, and in the sort of dance and free party thing. So I think that's why we were drawn to each other. We were both wanting to throw ourselves into that.
Yeah, and I think we both shared that kind of fascination with the concept of somehow being able to blend the two worlds. And you know, I was really before I'd met you, I was nowhere near as proficient in terms of like rock stuff, but I had been doing it, for many years. And, I could play guitar and all that kind of stuff, but I'd never really done anything, toured with a band or anything like that. I just played guitar and been part of like 2-bit outfits kind of thing. And I was really, my whole brain was kind of, I had this sort of grand dream like you have at that age of being able to make some kind of music that incorporated all musics, like, so I had this sort of fantasy of being able to combine it all and and finding the answer through that somehow.
Yeah, yeah, and that's because you sort of at some point, especially when you're younger, you think that you're the only person that likes all this music and could possibly bring it together. And then when you get a little bit older, which is what happened with Sonic Move 6, I kind of went, no, that's never going to be possible. There's always going to be shit that you listen to on your own. I listen to Japanese film score composers, and that might intrinsically influence me, but I'm not going to go to Sonic Move 6 at rehearsal and go, hey, minimalist Japanese elevator music is a new thing. There's always some shit you've got to leave behind. But I think what I realized with the dawn of when we started Sonic Move 6 was those particular things can go together, and this particular group of people can do this in a way that's going to make sense to certain kinds of people. So there's definitely a point when because I absolutely was like that, where we're a melting pot. One song's this, one song's that. That's kind of what Grimace was at the very beginning, which was the very first band, when it was like just me, Layla, and Neil and Dave, and it was like funk tune, and then it was rock tune, and then you did the reggae tune, and it's like, and you see it now. You still get local bands where they're like young kids, and they'll play one of each different genre, and then you kind of realize, no, what you've got to do is invent yourself, and it can branch off and do different things, but a band needs to be a cohesive statement and a brand, as wanky as that sounds, because all successful bands are. Yeah, every band has a way you can describe it, and a way that you can see it fits in with other stuff. Even if something's completely original, it's cut from whole cloth, you can still draw parallels to it. Do you know?
No, you're right, and I think that one of the things that I always thought was really cool about your music taste is that and the thing that drew you to ska was the way that it did take people from different upbringings, different sort of racial backgrounds, different, I mean, in England's case, kind of like almost like class backgrounds, and bring them together, and that sort of, I know that the specials are really important to you. You actually wrote a thesis on the specials, didn't you?
Yeah. I wrote it. The dissertation at uni. Yeah, the long one you have to write. I think it's like 10,000 words, maybe it's 20. I wrote that on the specials' influence on the Prodigy, Blur, and the Streets, and how that culture informed pop music of the 90s, specifically it was when Gorillaz was first coming out, so it must have been 2001, specifically in relation to mixing black music, the urban side of things, or whatever, Mobile Awards, one extra, mixing it with the rock. And I've seen that, especially the Streets and the Prodigy were doing that in an influence by the specials, and that absolutely draws parallel to what we were doing, because I don't want to, this is not disparaging, but I feel that whereas Jerry Dammers was obviously very sort of crashing, he was someone to a very clear extent didn't want to look back, and he sort of doesn't want to, but any band after the sort of specials and after that initial two-tone movement that carried, there's a new band that did two-tone ska in the 90s. They're not really doing, to me, philosophically what the specials were doing, because they're taking this already blended thing and not making new blends of new music and new cultures. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I think that what the specials did, what the two-tone thing did with us, what we were looking at it was that's a blueprint for what you sort of can do.
Exactly, as like an aesthetic, as a philosophical approach. So it's take and part of the thing that I think inspired you, and when you said it to me, it inspired me too, was that there were these people from very different sort of heritages, if you will, but that grew up together on the same street, and then that blend kind of created this music, and we were sort of despite the fact that I definitely didn't grow up on the same street as you, we were sort of trying to do the same thing, just bring what we all had to the band, clash it together and
Yeah.
kind of, you know, see what happened, kind of thing.
Yeah, there was never any trying to be anything. There was never, okay, well, we've got to be like this, so we need to hide this person's background or do this or do that. It always just was, we're just going to be ourselves. Yeah.
So,
For better or worse.
I'm doing like a, yeah, totally. I think we made a rod for our own backs with that a little bit. Maybe we could have stylized ourselves a little bit more. But I tell you what, it was pure. It was pure. It really was.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you know, I look back on when it, you know, because I think about Sonic Boom 6 all the time, and you know, it's not like you guys aren't vital at the moment, just brought a new album out, but you know, it's I look back on the years I spent doing it all the time. You know, I think about it all the time, and now we're speaking together a lot more. I am thinking about it even more, and really fondly, and you know, just we had some good days, man. We were young and kind of maniacs and all super competitive and stuff, but I thought we had a really good time. I don't know, over the years.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, competitive probably is. That's certainly not the first thing I would think of with it, but certainly maniacs. Yeah, that's definitely, definitely a word that is like, yeah. Well, I suppose there was competition, and there was, yeah. When each of you has that much influence on each other's, not what's the word, not responsibility, but when each of you has that much not significance, but when what you do affects the other people so much, there's always going to be an underlying anxiety between you, because at some point, you know, it's a lot of pressure. So you either pressurize each other, you know, as the case may be, or then you know, and bands, that's what it's like being in a band. It's just a mad family, isn't it? So
it is. It's like being married to a bunch of people. It's the kind of thing that's been said a million times, but it's absolutely true. It's like it becomes a very deep relationship. You know, really does.
Profound.
Yeah, and it's and you know, after leaving the band, I don't think I really recovered from leaving it for years. You know, because it was what I cared about it so much. Yeah, anyways, these days we've been making some music together again, which makes me so unbelievably happy. But you know, I've got, talking about what you're saying about kind of you know, making sort of more traditional ska not being in the vein of the specials. It definitely isn't, but there was a part of me that wanted to do something trad well. I just wanted I wanted to just prove I could do it almost. It's weird. I just proved to myself that, you know.
Yeah, but because there's a different, it's a whole different thing going, I'm going to take this music with its rules and its conventions and its and do something with it that's at once creative and interesting, but at once pays tribute and sticks with, and isn't afraid to use ideas that have already been used but put a new twist on them. Because sometimes you get into that situation when you make music, it's like, oh, I can't do that because it's been done before. Oh, I can't do that because it's been done before. And kind of everything's been done before. It's sometimes nice to take that pressure off yourself and just go, okay, this is what I naturally like and this is what I would write.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of that was a part of it. And also just I've always sort of kind of had this sort of admiration for the records that Chris Murray made, just because they're just like high quality ska, you know. And I just wanted to do something that was kind of like that. And so I've been giving a shot. It has deviated a little from that now, but the first couple of tunes with that, I think it's going to end up being quite interesting. I managed to persuade you guys to be on a few tunes. I'm stoked about that. But you know what? Enough of me. Let's talk about you guys' new record. What's going on with the new Sonic Boom 6?
Well, we've only done a single. So what we did, we've been trying to write all the way through lockdown. So for the last since we did the F-Bomb, and that come out in, there was Cardiac Arrest, which came out I think 2017, and that was just a DIY thing that we wrote in a couple of weeks, and just that was a real little sort of sort of like thing for the fans that want like a proper album, right? And then since then, we've been writing, but you know, all the COVID things happened, and then we've all got lives, and then this and that, and then no one was really spearheading it, and I wasn't doing that much, especially with what everything that was happening with COVID and the politics around it, and just the way that the world just felt really like it was just off its center, and it was just what. So I felt like if you write a tune now about this, by the time it comes out, it's going to be irrelevant because some other fuckery is going to have happened. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Fuckery. Like some other fuckery was going to have happened or whatever. So I just could not write nothing, and whatever I was trying to write, it felt very sort of inconsequential because everything seemed so crazy at the time.
Yeah.
There's one tune, the one tune that we've got that's going to be on a new album, and it's called Where Do We Start? And it's the start of the album. We're not even finished recording it yet. And the tune's just like, where do we start to make sense of this? And it's kind of cool, kind of conceptual.
Yeah.
So that was the only tune we could write. And then we had all these riffs. So we had maybe like 15, 20 riffs or whatever. And then we made these quite polished demos, but it just wasn't that exciting. And then we just through knocking stuff about, it was suggested, we'll just bring a single out so you can get some music out and do a tour around it and then see what happens. Yeah. So we've done these two new tunes. One's called Future Shock and one's called One of the Boys. Future Shock the video is already out, but it's coming out next Friday. So it's a double A-sided single. Future Shock is literally just about Jesus Christ, like social media and technology as just people have not learned to communicate properly on it. This is an evolution. This is a huge evolution. And we're all talking about AI at the moment, but this is an evolution of human beings learning. And I feel like a lot of us have learned this, but a lot haven't. Your boomer generation is worse than we are, where they don't understand that. And it's a bigger philosophical thing. It's like, if you just the anger clicks and the hate sharing, and this person says this about this, oh my God, that person said that about that. Oh, they're so sensitive, they're so woke, they're so this, they're so that. And then on the other side, you know, oh my God, we'll cancel this, cancel that. People haven't learned, oh, there's all these different opinions and I disagree with them. And we shouting at strangers on the internet is not helping anyone. It's making the world a more difficult place to live in. And that's what Future Shock's about. And it's almost like I've had to purge that out of me. And it's kind of quite centrist. I was kind of worried that when it released, we'd get some people that were being like, because there's one line where it says, take me back in the day, because I remember the day and all of the things we could say. And I thought, oh, maybe that sounds a little bit like I'm saying we used to be able to call, you know, say un-PC things, but it really wasn't. It was just more of the idea that if you meet someone, and I still feel like this, if you meet someone, we as human beings, when you look in someone's eyes and you deal with them across the table, you go for a curry with your neighbours, and my bloody he's like a workman by trade. He'll start coming out with some mad stuff about immigrants, or nothing hugely bigoted or hateful, but just we'll start coming out with that stuff, and you'll go, oh, mate, da 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 da. But on the internet, you won't do that. It'll be, oh, you're wrong, oh, you're hateful, da 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 da. And I feel like through physical contact and conversation, human beings have developed this amazing way of being able to meet in the middle, and the digital world takes that away from people, and they get very comfortable in their anger because of unhappiness, because of trauma, because I know I sound such a hippie, but I'm having therapy, so I'm starting to think about these things. I've had to, because this is panning the lockdown and the pandemic thing. But I think that the people are gonna have to evolve and understand, because so much of this hatred and so much of this binary right-wing, left-wing, woke, liberal, Gammon, so much of this dichotomy and hatred has been caused by the internet, because people have found people with fringe beliefs on the extreme that they can put themselves in a pool with, and decide that either they are righteous and they are right and we are right because we feel this way about certain issues, or we hate these and we are allowed to say this, we're allowed to say that about trans people, and we're allowed to say that because this other person hates them. The internet has been, it was not like this 20 years ago. Like, no. We thought the world was getting better. When we started something music, we thought the world was getting better. 9/11 was the worst thing we'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And now the world, because of I'm just going to say social media, but because of online interaction, it's distorted people's very experience of life itself, in terms of they want to, if they want to believe that London is I see more violence and threat in Manchester on a Saturday night than I did living 7 years in London. But if you read Twitter and you see these right-wing provocateurs, see, I'm not just going to say right-wing, but provocateurs, there's all these, London is now a war zone where everyone's stabbing each other. I see nothing. Obviously it happens, and obviously it happens in some of the poorer areas where gentrified uni boy ass doesn't live. You know what I mean? I'm not aware of that, but you don't live there neither, and you're going on about it because you've read about it, and your view of the world is completely distorted. So that Future Shock's about. And then one of the boys is just more of a funny ska punk, drum and bassy ska kind of, it's pure, bumbling, happy, silly, BBC Radio 4 comedy piss take of one of the boys, the Old Boys Network. And we've got such a badass video coming for it. We've got this guy that does political animation. He does political animation, and it's got like all us as like puppets, and then it's got Boris Johnson, and he's he's way worse than we are. He's like, we're gonna stick it to the Tories, and he's got like there's a line that says just give them a reason, and there's a well, I can't remember the words now. Just give them a reason, and there's a something for anybody who learnt Latin at Eton, and meaning like a cushy job for anyone that learnt Latin at Eton, and he's got Jacob Rees-Mogg in the video there. He appears, and then he's the word bubble that says "Mea culpa." That was made me laugh. So that's going to be coming out next Friday. So we've got these 2 new tunes, but I just got a new iPad. I've written like most of the F-bomb I wrote on iPad, but I've just it was an old iPad. You know, they get to when you put GarageBand on, it says synchronizing audio, and you're there for about 10 minutes. So I've got a new one. And I've written 3 songs. One of them I want you on saxophone and vocal harmonies as well. Because I mean, I've not spoke to Nick about this, but I'll tell him. Because there's certain things like on Floating Away and on Piggy in the Middle, when you and Layla sing together, it had this, because you've got this nice mercurial, beautiful, very in tune voice, but then there's a bit of there's a male edge but it's also you've got this, there's a greatness to your voice where it adds an extra layer of emotion on top of Layla. So I'm hearing some of these punk choruses. The what we're writing now is just sounds like the first album. It's a bit different. It's not it's got we are listening to the old stuff. It's going to be returned to that. So yeah, I've written 3 new tunes in a week. Two of them are killer. So I mean, we're back on like it. We did that.
That's what you guys are good at. That's what the band's good. It sounds, and it's fun, sick music. People like. I think I'm glad to hear it. And the stuff I've heard that like the newest single and stuff, and the few things he sent me, because I did a bit of horns here and there, just sounds sick. I think he's just killing it, man. I think all the new stuff's great.
Yeah, we're going to do that. There's going to be a tune with you on it, with the rap tune. You've already got your version on that. That's definitely going to go on it. So
I don't even know if I made it. I don't even know if I made it onto the one that came out, because I did a sax bit for it, and there is horns in it, so it might be in there somewhere, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was. I mean, because it's not out yet, and that's let's talk about off the record a little bit. it's nothing bad on you at all. It's just you know, these things are a process, aren't they? And there's always Layla always says it. I can't remember what she says. She says she goes, let's go through it and let's decide what was good and let's look at our could be betters. So
there you
there's
go.
a could be better in terms of our process this time that I'll relate to you. But,
oh, that's interesting. That's really cool, actually. Yeah, the thoroughness. One of the things I remember about being in the band was just how thorough everything was, especially the lyrics. You know, it was always like down to the wire, and it wasn't down to the wire because you haven't been thinking about it constantly. You had been thinking about it constantly, rewriting it, changing it, rewriting it, changing it, and it was the same with the artwork and everything. I always admired the attention to detail in the band. You know, to get the point as close to what you're really trying to say as possible. You know. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a shame, innit? Because I sent you that picture of you from Arcade Perfect, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, that's so sad that that's not part of people's experience of music now. Because that booklet thing, and the weird thing is, it's almost like the cover is actually really good, but with the actual booklet. And do you remember I had that? Who bought it me? I think it was my sister. Bought me like Chinese communist revolutionary notepad, and it had all that sort of artwork on it. And I was like, right, this is what the album's gonna be, and we'll do pictures of us. And it's so good when, because sometimes that doesn't happen. Like same with this One of the Boys video. This has happened. You go, here's my idea, let's do it. And when it ends up and you're like, whoa, that's whereas Rough Guide, it was a completely different thing. We went out with Adam Tickle, do you remember? And he took all those pictures of him in Bristol, and he was just like, I've got it, I'll do it. And then he sent us that cover, and we were like, all right, we'll go with that.
Totally,
there's a few different ones.
I remember we stayed at my mum and dad's house the night before. I got really drunk, and I woke up in the morning with like a bright red nose, and I was like gutted because we had the stage.
It was cold as well, wasn't it? It was cold out. I'm really red on them as well. I've got like red cheeks, but that kind of it's almost like we were always a little bit abashed about doing that sort of graffiti in our caps and baggies and that. We were kind of like, that's so obviously what Sonic Boom 6 is, but we kind of wanted not to always do that. But then that day we were just like, no, let's do it. And it worked out right. And it's like, okay, that was us. But I mean, in those early days, the way we all right, we're going to be red, black and white for that first two for the demo and then the album, and then with Arcade Perfect we went, well, we're now Chinese revolutionaries, we're gonna dress in camo. That was brilliant, and I loved all that.
And then there was that phase when we were like yellow and like, what was it? It was like black and yellow for a bit, wasn't it?
Black and yellow, I forgot about that one. Black, yellow, and white.
Black
and yellow.
And then I think there was like a period of time where I insisted on dressing like, so I was in No Comply for a while with like a black hoodie and like the train driver's hat, and it was good. I don't know. I feel like you get really influenced by who you're on tour with, you know, in terms of how you want to dress. I think we got more rock as time went on because we were spending so much time with rockers.
Well, no, it's what I would say. Because it was free. Because we'd go and support Howard's Alias, and at the end of the night, you'd go, can I have one of them T-shirts? That was what it was. And none of us had money to be spending on clothes. I remember when I first sort of started spending money on clothes, you know what I mean? That would have been about like 2010 or something. Before then, everything was free.
Yeah.
Because at that point, we'd start being able to pay ourselves a little bit from the band, or at least not be just complete, at least have PDs and shit, and staying in the odd hotel.
No, totally. I remember you were much better at looking after your clothes than me as well. Like, because I was the same thing. I had never had any money for clothes, but you had all these techniques for keeping your shoes nice and stuff like that. So you managed to like always look nice. But I just hadn't. Boarding school hadn't taught me that, so I was fucked. But those years, it was you know, completely broke. But I feel like, I don't know, is there anything like that? I suppose I do not like being able to buy things these days, but am I any
Yeah,
happier? I think I'm a little bit happier. You know, that one of the things that was rough when you have absolutely no money is just that constant fear of like a bill that's unpaid. You know, there was
yeah,
always that
yeah.
thing hanging over your head all
There's
the time.
tension and anxiety in that, yeah, that can only be experienced by someone when they're in that position as well. And you see that, you know, politically in terms of stuff that's going on, especially with people that have got no money. Like, I know I get paid. Look at it, above the national average. I'm having to move house because I can't afford it. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's so how's anyone else doing? I don't
yeah,
spend a lot of money on clothes and going out. I mean, spend a bit, but you know, it's crazy.
yeah. No, it's rough, man. Um, over here, like the food is insanely expensive these days, and
Yeah,
gas like is it. People will say it's expensive, but it's nowhere near as expensive as it is in England. So it's a kind of a
yeah,
bit richer to say it is. Like but when people complain about the gas, I'm like, oh yeah, it's nearly as much as it was in England when I left. Like now, it's funny.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, but the thing about America is you have to drive everywhere, so it's a bit different. You know,
yeah,
driving's just like you don't really have a choice. In Florida, if you can't drive, you're basically like a hermit. You can't do anything.
yeah, yeah. Well, I remember that because remember when we went to America, there was a couple of times where our I'm very much a walker. I like having a walk. I like it. Do you know, it's like I got the cinema at least once, maybe twice a week, and it's 35 minutes up a hill. And then people think I'm mad. They're like, "What you walk there? What you walk to the cinema?" Okay, let me get this straight. You walk? Yeah, I enjoy that. I get my podcast on. It's a bit of exercise, and I find I can focus. Because otherwise thoughts all over my head. So
Yeah.
I like a walk, but in America, there was 3 times. Once when once when I was walking across, I don't know if you were on this one. Once I was walking, there was like a subway. No, I don't think. Maybe you were in the band. Were you in a band where Matt Reynolds was playing guitar?
No, because that's why he was playing
Yeah,
guitar.
there we go. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was there. And I walked across the motorway or the freeway,
Yeah, yeah.
and there was like a grassy verge in the middle, and I stepped in it, and it was like a pool, and I like fell in, and I was
Oh
like right
no.
up to my crotch, yeah, and then I went across. Yeah, there was that one, but there was the other one where I think you were there, where we were in Las Vegas,
Yeah,
like not Caesar's Palace, but a bit of a shonky one. And
yeah,
we went to, it was when Brock Lesnar was fighting George St. Pierre, or was it Randy Couture? It was the second big Brock Lesnar UFC fight, and he was fighting that day. So I wanted to go over and just see the building. And we went outside, and then the security got us, and we were like trying, just because we were walking through the car park, and they were like, "Where's your car?" And we were like, "We not got a car. We were in this, you know, we were in this thing." And they like grilled us. They brought the woman over, and it was like,
yeah.
what do you think you're doing walking?
I
Because
know.
we were like, we're gonna walk through that thing and then walk. You see it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You could see UFC, and
yeah.
it was like, yeah, golden arches, and they were like, this is an affront to the American flag. You
I,
would dare
it's very
not to
weird.
use.
It's very weird.
Yeah,
Walking just it's not set up for walking really. Round but the little bit where I live, there's some okay walks and stuff, but the roads get very big very quickly, and you know there's not you know quite often there's not really a path next to them and stuff, and it's just unusual to see people. You see quite a lot of people cycling these days, but like
yeah.
walking isn't. I don't know. I go on loads of walk when in COVID. That's pretty much all I did was wander around for like days.
Wanderer. Yeah, same here. Yeah, I walked quite some. I walked into London when you weren't allowed. I walked from my house in Crouch End into like London Centre. You know, the old 28 days later thing. That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Ollie was doing the same thing. For the listener who doesn't know about my friend Ollie, he lives in London too, and he did the same thing. He's just kind of wandering around this kind of desolate, strange city with no one in it. So it was the weirdest thing ever.
Crazy,
Yeah.
Lands of broken code. Made our minds implode. Information over. It's a future shock. Overload, millions of minds on a dead end road. It's a future shock. Overload, time bomb are gonna explode. It's a future shock. Every day, send to a friend, say sweet FA. It's a future shock. Overload, time bomb are gonna explode. Future shock and fallout.
561 Music is happy to announce our partnership with the 3rd annual punk rock flea market to hit Fort Pierce. Starting at noon on December 2nd, don't miss the event that's packed with a variety of independent vendors, artists, unique small businesses, and awesome food and drink, all at a family-friendly event. Featuring music by Dial Drive, FWA, The Problem Addicts, Human Error, Colorblind Dinosaur and Constant Throw. Hosted at Tipsy Tiki, this local outdoor venue has undergone a makeover with the same owners as Fort Pierce Cider Works. Bands will blow you away with some great music on their newly renovated stage. So come out and support local music.
We are also sponsored by Oasis Root. Now, Oasis Root Kava Bar is in Seagrape Square on Indiantown Rd, and it is a kava bar. If you don't know anything about kava, it's a Polynesian root that you grind up and you mix with water. And it has been in Polynesia for potentially thousands of years. It's an old thing that they used for kind of ceremonial and also sort of leisure purposes. It's meant to be something where, you know, that brings people together. You all take a shell of kava and chink them together and say bula and have it together like that. It's meant to be something to bring people together. It's has a kind of an effect, which is, I guess, a kind of a slightly warming effect. It just kind of makes you feel nice. It's not particularly intoxicating. It's not like drinking alcohol. So the atmosphere in a kava bar is sort of like a cross between a regular bar and a coffee house. It's pretty chill in there. You get all sorts of different types of Kava bars. Some of them are more like a club, you know, there's sort of like black light and EDM playing. And some of them are more like a cafe. This is one of the cafe type of ones. It's super chill in there. If you're looking for somewhere to, I don't know, maybe go and do some work on your laptop or go and have a chat with friends, it's perfect for that kind of thing. There's a foosball table in there if that's your jam, or baby-foot as they call it in France. And yeah, Jim, the owner, is a really cool guy, and he has very kindly sponsored our podcast. So thank you very, very much for that, Jim. They also do a poker night in there, all sorts of things going on at Oasis Route Kava Bar. 561 Music is sponsored by Live Music Community. It's where we film the podcast that you're listening to right now, and it's also where I work. Gavin, Hector's son, was a student here for a long time, and in many ways he's the musician he is today because of the teachers at Live Music Community. We taught him not only about his instrument, but also about being in a band, and his band, Unemployed Youth, accomplished a lot of goals, mostly band etiquette, how to work together, and all of the nitty-gritty that goes into being in a band on a day-to-day basis. The student signs up for lessons, learns their instrument, joins a real band, and decides the direction it goes in. And we can take people from very young age, 6 or 7 years old, all the way up to 80. There's no age limit here. We run an adult program for people who want to be in a band as adults, but really the main focus is on the kids and getting them playing together and in bands. We are also a studio, a live stream venue, and we can record audio or video. The Killbillies live album, Warts and All, was recorded here. It was recorded during a live stream that we did during COVID. Justin had a great idea to record live streams during COVID. A ton of bands came in, and it was a real success. But outside of that, we can record albums, we can help you with your EPK, and we have full audio-visual capabilities here. LMC is in Palm Beach Gardens on the northwest corner of Military Trail and North Lake Boulevard. It's north of the gas station, right before you get to North Lake on Military Trail. And if you go to livemusiccommunity.com, you have all the information you'll need right there. Thanks. So, I think I want to touch on a couple of things before I let you go. One of them is in terms of like Sonic Boom 6 has always been largely been, not always, but largely been, a DIY experience, and certainly was at the beginning. And I don't know where you're at with it now, but it's the backbone of Sonic Boom 6 is really just doing it yourselves, at one point doing it ourselves. And can you just speak to that a little bit, and like how, speak to your experience of like the beginnings of Sonic Boom 6 and how we did it?
Well, I think it's, to me, that's what punk is. To me, right? That's because people always ask about punk and how that fits in, and how you call yourself a punk band, and different variations of that. And I generally, you do, when you do get asked the same questions, you'll end up coming with answers, and then over the years you sort of refine not only your answer but your actual thought process and your thinking about it. And you don't want it to be like facile, but I think what I'm always drawn to in terms of DIY and punk is the idea that art, the way you art is any expression, right? And it's how the person receiving it perceives it and interacts with it, and whether they like it, whether they hate it, and how they react to it. It's all art. And the beauty of punk, because you always have to go back. It goes back to progressive rock. There's this cliche, and there's as with cliches, there's always a certain truth in them. Yeah. But the cliche that came to blow away Floyd and Yes, and there's the big cliche of Rick Wakeman on the skates and Emerson, Lake and Palmer. The virtuoso side of rock music as a spectator sport got so pulled away from what people, you know, were able to do, mere mortals that aren't musical professionals or virtuosos, sorry. And then punk came and from day dot said, no, we're the kids, we can do this ourselves. This is valid expression. We're going to go back to rock and roll. We're going to go back to 4 chords. And we're going to print these fanzines ourselves. And this is self-sufficient. And not only does that paradigm sort of be this thing where this is how we create it, but I also feel that it's incumbent on people that's how you receive it. You receive something with an open mind. And with Oasis, Sonic Boom 60 was always this thing that it was a challenge. We always got this thing that it's a Marmite band. But to me, it was like, it's not a love or hate thing. It's do you remember the first time you heard The Streets? Do you remember the first time you heard Has It Come to This by The Streets? I remember because I'd read about Streets, okay? I'd read about him, whispers of him in hip hop stuff in the NME, and I heard it was coming. I remember where it was. I was at the surgery I used to work at, and it came in on the radio, and it was a very sort of primitive, raw sounding garage beat, almost a simplistic sounding garage beat, but it was still catchy and it had a hook. And then he started rapping on it. And that rap is like nothing you'd ever heard. In fact, it sounded to my ear, which was not tuned into it, on a level where I had the full context of what he was doing as an artistic expression. To me, it sounded bad. I reject that. He doesn't sound like a skilled MC. He doesn't sound like yesterday when I was at school having a debate. He's like just talking. He sounds young. This sounds bad. And I remember hearing it and almost being like, wow, like that is awful. And then as soon as I heard it again, and then I heard Turn the Page, dun, 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 dun. Oh shit, this guy had this all laid out. He understood what this was, and you might not get it the first time, but if you get it if you hear it, and when you click with it, then it has its own law, it has its own thing. It's completely original. Now, I would never put Sonic Boom 6 in the same category as that, because I put very few other acts in as an original as that album was, and how influential that album was. You know, there's stuff at the time like Lily Allen that was great and very influential, but it did, you heard Smile and you knew what it was, whereas The Streets. So what I'm saying there is, to take that back to punk, for me, obviously, I think of punk rock as much of that school of bands like Talking Heads, Blondie, this unruly artistic expression of music, television from America. And then in London, it was just more raw, and we're doing it ourselves. We're the Kids, Sex Pistols, The Clash, The Damned. But for me, it's as much about going, find what is happening in that sound that you're not used to, because there is art there. There's interest there. There's stuff there happening. Don't go, here's how music sounds. This is how it should sound. The first time you hear something, explore why you're turned off by it or whatever. And I think that's what I love about punk. And to me, that's what punk is. Going, this level that we've set, this sort of scoreboard that you have to attain as a musician or as an artist, is actually it's kind of falsely through repetition of stuff on TV, but through magazines, through hearing stuff again and again, you've got this mass understanding of what something should be. Now, there are bands that just sound amazing. It's like, you understand why Iron Maiden played to so many people in South America, because even you can't speak that just works. But then there's other artists that are more esoteric and more, and people have to be, you know, gradually get to like them. And I feel like, you know, the fanzines, the DIY element of punk rock is going, forget what you know. This is polystyrene going, I'm bonded, up yours, woo, this sax out that's was seen as completely out of tune, and it changed people's, you know, perception of what is right and what's wrong. And I definitely think that you were at uni doing music, and I was at uni doing music. And by the end of that experience, I genuinely knew that I wanted to reject, not in a malicious or spiteful way, but I know that there was not a lot of people on that course that were getting so immersed in music that appreciated music like in the same way that I did, because they thought a lot of them did think about having more notes, being better on instruments, and blah blah blah. And I think that, you know, with punk rock, it's about expression, and it's about, and then there's just that street music that and that appeals to me. Yeah.
No, it's absolutely right, and I think that there's obviously people who, it's a huge spectrum in all different directions. There's obviously people who are more successful at creating something that's new and interesting than others, and there's obviously people who are out there hearing someone creating something new and interesting, getting the wrong end of the stick and copying it and not getting it, and all sorts of different things like that, all mixed up in it. But like, you know, it's where you find the, you know, the diamonds in the rough. Exactly. Because it's not,
I think one thing with me, and I kind of was always like this, but I think through the war of attrition of doing it, playing when I was at uni, play with a lot of musicians and lots of different kinds of bands, you know, even through uni, and then doing gigs with other stuff. And I know that through how hard we've worked at music and what, you know, we've done in the studio and the amount of work we put into it, I know I got to the point where I hear music on the radio, though I don't like Radio 1, it's not that I don't like the music, because if I hear something, instead of going bristling at it, I will go, well, why is that finding its audience? And I do not for a second, if you think there's such a thing as industry plants, and you think there's people that get legs up because, but if they didn't have the talent to connect with an audience, if there was such a thing as industry plants, then every band would be an industry plant, because the industry would just, but no, if it doesn't resonate with an audience, if someone like Youngblood isn't talking to the kids, I might not be sticking on Youngblood tunes, but if I hear Youngblood featuring Bring Me the Horizon, you're damn right I'm going to listen to it and go, what are those guys doing? Why is it working? Instead of rejecting it. If someone is connecting with an audience, I want to know why. And I'm very, very like that. I've never been on that tip. That music's not good. Even stuff that I don't like Motley Crue and Kiss and stuff like that, like that kind of stuff, I can still listen to it and go, well, that's a banger, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? I just don't like it on a certain level. But I think that in a way, it'd be nice to just be able to hear something that was quite big and go, I hate that. But I tend to hear stuff and you go, if that's connecting with its audience, then you will know. That's why I find some sort of online, or, you know, even I suppose online is the media now, isn't it? But music criticism, the sort of sixth form enemy music criticism, it's a little bit absurd in some respects, because some music journalists are very good writers, so they're able to tell you why you like something. But part of the brilliance of music is ultimately it's your own. It's like the clothes you like to wear. It's all good.
I agree, and that's why I was writing for a magazine for a minute there, and what I found myself doing was just saying how much I liked every single thing I came across myself, and then I was like, well, this isn't interesting to anyone because I'm not being horrible about it. But then I realized like it's big. I at this point I wasn't always like this. I freely admit that, but now, you know, you'd have to try pretty hard to play me something I wasn't at least interested in. You know, it's just I find music in general interesting, and this has come. I want to say I've been getting progressively more like this as we're getting older, but since stopping drinking and stuff like that, and starting to change my thought processes to, I I had a thing in me that where I was like, I could get kind of like jealous. I guess it was ego or something. I could get this thing about me where I'd feel threatened by things and stuff like that. But I just don't have that anymore. You know, I can.
We all do it, or we've all done it. Yeah, you did so. You did something. I randomly would just hate this one particular tune or this one particular person. Yeah, you did kind of do that, but then you were always very open minded in your bigger picture. But yeah, there was the odd tune where you just find it unfathomable.
Yeah. No, I feel like now you know, you're right. Why do people like it? I mean, there's got to be a reason, and it's ultimately, and people.
There's
an argument surrounding this.
It's connecting with an audience, and what I find very unwise, foolish, that people think that everybody's that stupid. So, for instance, people might think that, you know, drill music is all crap. That's just me off the top of the head. It's just a beat with it. So that they don't understand that for anything. In any art, there's people that are good at doing it and people that aren't as good at wanting to. What is it about the good drill artists that's resonating with their audience?
Yeah.
What is that? You can't see that. So, you know, it's drum and bass music. That was a key one. People, it's just and it's like, yeah, but if you hear that drop in a club and it goes whoa, what, and everyone's like, you go, that's why he's DJ Hype. That's why he's, you know, Groove Rider. It's like, and some people, no, it's all shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, crazy. Totally. Hector will tell you that country is all shit, but anyway, he's not here to defend himself, so I'm not going to be mean. But anyway, listen.
Well, I can agree with that.
Listen, I've got to go actually. Unfortunately, I have someone I've got to record, and I can hear my dogs barking, so I better go. But thanks so much for coming in and chatting to me. It's always nice to talk to you, and I feel like I speak to you almost at least twice a week at this point. But it's nice to actually sit down and hear some hit some, you know, proper points of view from someone who is a deep thinker on music. And is there anything that you wanted to sort of say real quick before we kind of tie this up?
No, I mean, only that, like I say, we did a little sold out tour in October. I'm very much back into it. I've had a hard few years. I've had physical problems, I've had mental health problems, but I kind of getting my stuff together, and we're going to be writing new stuff. So if you haven't heard Sonic Boom 6 before, obviously most listeners are going to know that Ben was in the band, but come and check us out on sonicboom6.co.uk, and we're going to be getting new stuff out, and Ben's going to be featuring on it. I mean, I've not even talked to you before. I've got some ideas, and I think we need some saxophone. This is what I
see. This smile, that is the most genuine smile you ever see. That makes me very happy.
Yeah, well, I was watching a little video yesterday of us playing Piggy in the Middle, and Marsha from the Skints is playing sax on it, and I was like, "Go girl, I'm not gonna disparage anybody else that's played sax, because we've had tons of sax players. We've had Pete, we had Longshanks Dave, we had Squirty Bertie, Alex Bertine, obviously you, the original and best. But I think Piggy in the Middle, Marsha killed it. Like,
did she do the whole bit? The bit in the whole middle bit. And everything? Oh my God, I've got to check it out.
Yeah, there's some crazy bits on that. Your tongue. I remember you coming up with Piggy in the Middle, the beginning bit. And there was a song by a band called Sup, who Shawnee was in oh God, where are he from? Peterborough.
I remember.
Played with him, and he said they were ace, but he sounded exactly like Cat Down. It was just like, it was just Cat Down worship, but he had a tune went, and you were like, yeah, that's good. And I was like, well, let's just do it with one note, and then bam, 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 and that became one of our biggest things. So once you picked up the guitar, that was the noodly sax was gone. We never did it again. But,
I know.
I've got a tune that I need some. It needs some hot noodle sax.
But that
on it,
very
right?
that very saxophone that my mum and dad bought me when I was like 10 years old is in really, really good nick right now. I just had it repaired, so it can be the original Sonic Boom sax will be on it.
And you remember, you can hear on Piggy in the Middle, you can hear the tapping of the thing near the mic.
Yeah.
And you were like,
yeah.
oh, I hate that. But we were like, oh, it just sounds like percussion. Yeah. Right, yeah, we'll have a chat soon anyway, just have a phone call or something. But yeah, so if you haven't heard us before, soundbeam6.co.uk, there's new music coming, it's going to be really good. And yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, and the one thing that I would say on it all is if, just like Barney said, if you've never listened to Sonic Boom 6, it's not really like anything you've ever heard. Across the albums, it goes into lots of different places. I couldn't really say a band that Sonic Boom 6 sounds like. It just is its own band. It's a super. I was in it for 10 years. I think it's badass. So you should check it out. And I'm super honored to have Barney on here. Very intelligent man who knows a lot about music. So if you find Barney on socials or on Twitter or whatever, he's usually saying interesting stuff about music. He knows a lot about it. And any other media that you can eat up with Barney or Layla or both of them talking about music, you should go out and find and listen to the band. And yeah, that's it really. I shall be speaking to you very soon, I'm sure. And
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, hang loose, bro.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. See you later.
Later.
Thank you. Bye.
Take me by the scenes, it's what we're doing.